everybody. Welcome back to Texas Platinum. Please subscribe. We're on the journey to 3K subscribers by Arkansas, as y'all already know, the 9/11 game. So go ahead and hit that subscribe button, we really appreciate it. Next up, though, we want to announce that next week, keep your eye out for some Texas Platinum content. We're going to collab actually with a very notable Texas football YouTuber that I'm sure y'all are all big fans of. So that'll be good. It's going to be kind of a different, more fun offseason, just Texas football, in historic video. So keep your eye out for that. Should be a good one. And today Trevor and I are going to kind of, talk about a perfect world where, the Arch Manning versus Quinn Ewers. If Texas, let's just say that Steve Sarkisian recruits their butts off and he can really basically choose between one of the two, because you're not going to get both Quinn Ewers and Arch Manning. And to be honest, I should even preface that with saying we probably won't even get Quinn Ewers. Like, that guy's probably, if you had to bet on it, he's going to play for Ohio State. But, well, as fans, and we're just kind of going to speculate here and just, in the perfect scenario, who would you prefer, Arch Manning or Quinn Ewers for Texas? And what would it mean for the program and, players that would come with them, stuff like that. So we're kind of going to do it debate style, where Trevor actually, he's more of an Arch guy and I'm more of a Quinn guy personally. So yeah, Trevor, sell me on why Texas should go choose Arch Manning in a perfect world over Quinn Ewers.
Yeah. So Arch, obviously, I'm going to kind of go into two different parts because there's two different parts that come with Arch Manning, one being his skill set, the other being his name and what that brings potentially to the university or any university that he's going to be attending in the next 2 years. So yeah, in terms of playing style, I kind of compared their film a little bit, and they bring the same things to their respected teams. I mean, they're both pro style quarterbacks that are mobile and are unafraid to run. They're very mobile in the pocket. They move around a lot, and the thing that stands out the most is just their golden arms. Both of them have amazing arms and just incredible accuracy, and they seem to be able to make all the throws that they need to make in particular situations. And also, just from what I've read, they both are very team first guys, which is obviously very good to have, very important to have. So all those boxes are checked. Really, both of them are obvious quarterbacks that you'd want to build your team around. Real quick, a comparison visually that from what I saw in their film was, to me, it's going to sound like a very lazy comparison, but Arch Manning really reminds me of Trevor Lawrence and the way that he throws the ball and moves around. Just watch his film and comment below if you agree with that. Obviously he reminds me of a Manning, being a Manning. That high release, that big throwing motion that the Mannings are notable for, he definitely pulls off. But just his playing style really reminded me of Lawrence. And then in terms of Ewers, he's obviously had a lot of comparisons to Rodgers or, there's another quarterback that he gets compared to a lot that I'm not, Phillip Rivers, that I'm not a big buyer on that comparison. But in watching Ewers' film, Myers, what do you think about this? I was watching his film. I'm like, he reminds me a lot of someone, and it's not the people that everyone talks about. And I was like, he kind of looks like Russell Wilson and his throwing motion. Comment below if you agree with that. Do you agree with that, Myers?
As a passer,
no, just the throwing motion. He has he doesn't do what Arch does with these big looping throws. He's more of a quick throw, more of a baseball throw. Kind of like Russell, and just the mobility too. Maybe I'm wrong with that. I don't know. That was just a light that went off in my head recently. But anyway, on to Arch. Outside of the playing style, and I'll talk a little bit more later kind of about the schools he's looking at and just the chances that Texas could be to actually land a guy like Arch. But outside of the playing style and the leadership that he would bring, it's the Manning name. Let's be real here. the Manning name is the most notable name in probably football history. Definitely NFL, probably college as well to an extent. Maybe not quite college as much, but definitely NFL. I mean, it's a name like, this is a bad comparison, but it's like the Kardashians. People, it's a name that everybody knows, and you don't have to be, a giant football fan or a big college fan to know who Manning is and to know that that's associated with the sport of football. He's got those, incredible roots with, his grandfather being a great player at Ole Miss, and then of course his uncles with Eli and Peyton, and then his father, who had to cut his career short at Ole Miss, but also was a very good wide receiver for the time being in Cooper Manning. Just close your eyes and imagine like a Texas jersey with the last name Manning on it. Like that is like the most marketable piece of like that would be the most marketable jersey you could potentially sell. And coming this season, we're about to enter the age of the name, image, and likeness effect. That's going to be happening. And not only would Arch make a ton of money playing at the University of Texas, but the University of Texas would make so much money off of having, the Manning name associated with it. And just outside of that too, I mean, recruiting would be out the wazoo. It's taking, anyone, there's so many other programs that you could absolutely argue are better than Texas historically, the Ohio States of the world, the Alabamas, you could even say Michigan probably. But branding wise, I outside of maybe like USC, maybe Ohio State, maybe Michigan, Texas is by far one of the biggest brands in the history of college football. So taking that giant of a brand, it's not even just a national brand, it's an international brand. You go to other countries and people know the Longhorn logo, believe it or not. You combine that with an equally powerful brand in the Manning name, that's just a lethal combination. So yeah, I mean, all those things together, recruiting, the media is going to completely eat it up for the next, so many years. I mean, it might save the Longhorn network, honestly. Not that it's going to be dying, but it is kind of, hanging on. And but gosh, just yeah. I mean, everything. Arch going anywhere is going to ultimately bring so much to the university outside of his skills, just because of the name that he possesses. And I know that is a little bit not cheating, but like he doesn't even have to do much to bring so much to the university. And I'll end with this point. This would be, obviously it was before my time as a Texas fan. Myers, maybe you were kind of watching at this point, but I'm sure you're pretty young. But like, this is like Chris Sims coming to the University of Texas, but like 5 times that. Because when Chris Sims came, from what I've read and heard, of course I wasn't, paying attention at that point. I was pretty young, but there was a ton of hype around it because of the NFL ties that Chris had with his father. And him just being a super touted recruit. It was like a constant buzz. Same with Vince Young coming to Texas. That guy, I mean, he's from Texas, and it wasn't a surprise that we got him, but at the same time, everyone knew who Vince was back in high school. And it just created unbelievable buzz. This is bigger than both of those. I don't know if Arch is more talented than Vince, probably not, but yeah, point in being, and I'll stop since I know I've been talking for a while. Just the name, outside the name coupled with the skill set that he brings, it's a home run. And also the fact that this wouldn't be happening immediately. This would be 2 seasons away. It gives Sarkisian some time to get used to Texas, get his thing going, as well as our current quarterbacks in Hudson Card and Casey Thompson. And if either of them end up actually doing well, it gives them a little bit of time to have a career before we transition into Arch, instead of immediately cutting them off and then having a complete quarterback controversy. But I'll toss it over to you, Myers. that was a lot of information, but we're going to continue talking about it. Tell me a bit about Quinn.
I don't know, man. You kind of had a compelling argument there for Arch Manning.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Quinn Ewers, I think as a pure prospect, comparing sophomore film to sophomore film, I think that's the comparison that I was
Yeah.
watching on Huddle. I think Quinn Ewers is definitely a step up as a passer. He seems a bit bigger, but then again,
Actually, not.
they're so young. Yeah, yeah. I think Mike Roach was actually out there in Louisiana a couple days ago, and he actually wrote up that he's pretty big. Like I'm sure he's growing as well. So yeah, it's probably not the best thing to look at, but either way, I think Quinn Ewers it's weird to say it, but I feel like he's an NFL quarterback in high school, and he just effortlessly throws balls that really don't make sense for a high schooler, and he's playing at the highest level in the state of Texas. Last time that we had a number one overall player in Texas, I believe, I don't know if Adrian Peterson, it was Vince Young. But what I'm saying, last time we had a number one quarterback in Texas, number one in the nation, it was Vince Young, and Vince Young committed, signed with Texas, and we won a national championship. And Ewers is all about Texan pride, Texas born and raised, and I think that would be just perfect for what we need at Texas. And you talk about the Manning jersey on like a Texas Longhorn football jersey, selling it in the co-op. But I think a Ewers jersey would also sell very well. I mean, the mullet's super marketable. So as far as the NIL, yeah, maybe ours will have a little bit more likeness to sell, maybe more nationally, like Nike and stuff would want to pick up Arch more than Ewers. But I think either way, it's going to be a very sellable product. And obviously, Ewers is committed to Ohio State. And honestly, I don't know if he'll ever flip to Texas, but whenever we hired Sarkisian, there was always kind of this like new hope for Texas. And some websites, like I won't name them, but some websites are kind of saying, no, it's not happening. They've dug into it and really haven't found much. But then other ones like Inside Texas, as they are very confident that it could happen down the road, assuming that a lot of competent offense in the fall and we don't look horrible. And they actually quantified it and put it into a percentage that I'm not going to say on here out of respect for their paywall. But if you go subscribe to Inside Texas and keep up with their, they have some good intel on Ewers. They claim to know quite a bit about that recruitment. They're fairly confident that we can flip them. So one thing to watch in this recruitment is probably, from what I've read, is Landon Sampson. He's also at South Lake Carroll. He's a receiver. I think he's Quinn Ewers' best friend or something like that. So let's say Texas puts the full pressure on Landon Sampson and maybe he commits Texas. Then I think that's kind of a signal that this is about to get real. But then again, if Ohio State goes and gets him, then I think that's also a sign this may be a done deal. He's not coming to Texas. So yeah, I mean, I don't think the door is closed, but it's gonna be a tough pull. But I was watching a video of him being interviewed by an Ohio State reporter, I believe, and they were asking Quinn about, Ohio State and his relationship with the coaches. And he didn't seem too interested in answering the questions, which I don't know if that's just him being over the recruitment or maybe he just wasn't in a good mood that day. But they also asked him about what were his thoughts on Ohio State's quarterback room and the competition you would have to have there, because Ohio State, we talk about Hudson Card and Casey causing disruption for Quinn Ewers, but Ohio State has, I think, like 2 or 3 5-stars in that room, and they're all like freshmen or sophomores. So he's going to definitely face more competition at Ohio State. So and his answer was he's not thinking about that. He's not at Ohio State yet. He didn't even really address anything. He just said, I'm not there yet, not thinking about that. But competition-wise, I think he'd have an easier path here at Texas, because CJ Stroud, Ohio State fans will tell you that he's like, the Messiah or something like that. And he's going to be a redshirt freshman next year. So Ewers may have to sit in the bench at Ohio State for a couple of years, where at Texas, I don't think he would. But yeah, anyways, I don't know. We'll see. Another thing that I like about Ewers over Manning is the fact that we pull one from Ohio State. Ohio State keeps trolling about Ewers. Their fans are really like my least favorite fans in college football. And it'd be great to, get, the Texas prodigy, man, the Quinn Ewers. He needs to be in Austin. It's destiny. Grew up a Longhorn fan, and all we have to do really is just put a good product on the field and keep recruiting them. I think AJ Milwee and Sark, he won't admit it, Ewers, publicly, but from what I've read behind the scenes, that Ewers stays in contact with Sark and Milwee. So who knows? But yeah, I'm team Ewers mainly because I know as a Texan, I just kind of feel that connection. Texas forever. And we're splitting hairs. I'll go with the homegrown kid. But either way, I would take either of them in a heartbeat. And I hope we can get one of them. So we'll see. It'll be fun seeing this thing play out. I think Arch honestly may be more realistic at this point. I don't know if you want to talk about his recruitment too much, but I think it's Texas and Alabama really at the top right now. So yeah, it'll be fun to watch the next year unfold.
Yeah. Let me touch on his recruitment. So he's with the dead period now lifted and players actually being able to visit campus for the first time in what feels like forever, basically since COVID. He's scheduled to go on a 5-school trip coming at the kind of beginning mid-July, June. Well, not July, June. So he'll actually be visiting campus on June 13th or sometime around that date. He's going to stop and see five schools, one of which is very interesting to me. And I heard a little bit of rumors about it. I don't know how true they are, but anyway, he's first going to stop and visit Clemson, which, powerful program, definitely worth checking out. Next, before he goes to Texas, he's going to stop at SMU, which is interesting. I don't think he would ever go to a non-Power 5 school. That doesn't make any sense. But I saw a comment actually on YouTube. So obviously, I don't know how true it is, but I heard something along the lines of that his mom really likes SMU or like has a connection there or something. So he's come to check it out. I mean, Stony Dykes is a respectable coach. It's a good program. There's nothing to crap on SMU about, but you're a 5-star quarterback with a name like Manning, I wouldn't be going to SMU personally. Then he's going to Texas to see Sark, then Bama, then Georgia, and then obviously LSU and Ole Miss have been very close in recruitment as well. LSU being that that's the state he's from. He's got a lot of teammates that are going to LSU. LSU's been recruiting him super early on. Coach O is pretty tight with him apparently. So that's definitely a possibility. But he's also not visiting, probably because it's in his own backyard essentially. And then Ole Miss, of course, with the connections with his grandfather and his father and his uncle and Eli. Tennessee really doesn't seem to be a factor, and I feel bad. I feel bad for Tennessee because they've had a rough patch just like we have, but apparently that doesn't really seem to be much of an interest to Arch. And then I've also heard like Duke, and he's going to be visiting a lot of schools. He kind of what I take it is that he's going to be very kind of taking the Peyton route rather than the Eli route of just being very open to a bunch of schools and kind of seeing what fits best. And then he did give some quotes pretty recently about Texas, and I'll read them off for you guys in case you haven't seen them yet. But in regards to Texas, Arch said, "I think the Longhorns are going to get it going in the next few years. I'm excited to see what they can do." In regards to Sark, he said, "Obviously, he's a freak of a coach with what he did at Alabama and the Falcons and everywhere else. He knows how to coach quarterbacks. He's actually just a really nice guy, really laid back, and I like him a lot." So he likes Sark, just like a lot of quarterbacks do. And those are all things that, we've said on the show, and we haven't even met the guy, but yeah, from what we can tell, he seems like a nice, pretty chill guy. And then in regards to Milwee, who would be his quarterback coach, this I found pretty interesting. He says, "I like Milwee a lot. I can relate to him because he's younger. It seems like we're friends. I like him a lot. He'd be a cool guy to get to play for. Hopefully he doesn't get too many job offers and stays there. He's just a good guy. I really like everyone I've met and enjoyed building relationships and meeting different guys." So Texas definitely in the hunt. It sounds like Sark definitely, even outside of Arch, us hiring him ultimately was probably it was a good safe number two bet, number two hire between after Urban decided to head more of the NFL route. Just being that he's really has this I guess label as a quarterback whisperer, which is going to be good for us in the upcoming years. I mean, we got Mike Murphy, who's very talented as well, and well, definitely more of a project. But yeah, so Texas definitely, he's visiting pretty soon, so I'm sure there's going to be a lot of rumors in the next few weeks, a lot of stuff on message boards about his visit, and how much he likes it. And apparently, he's also pretty tight with Ruben Owens, who's obviously committed to Texas, one of the top running back prospects for Arch's class, and they've really kind of gotten along and stuff. And Ruben's, of course, in his ear about coming to UT and joining him. So it should be interesting. I mean, I definitely, like we said, these are two really good quarterbacks. So like debating between the two is very difficult to do. I'm not saying that ultimately, I think I'd rather have Arch at the end of the day because of, like I said, the beyond his playing skills, what he would bring. I still do think, look, I know that Ewers would be super marketable once he got to Texas, but like I said, Manning is a name that people that like you could ask students on campus that don't really follow football, like, oh, have you heard about Quinn Ewers? And they're going to be like, who? Like Ewers doesn't quite. I mean, obviously, like, in the people that are watching this are going to know who Quinn Ewers is, and people that are in college football. But if you say the word Manning, everyone's like, oh, Manning, yeah, football, NFL, like, football royalty. So I still think that the name is too marketable to pass up, and but of course, if we got Quinn, I'd be ecstatic because he's crazy talented. Myers, any thoughts to bounce off of that?
Yeah, I just want to say those quotes that you were saying, I believe they're from 247. So I want to give them some credit for that. But yeah, that's really juicy stuff. That's really, important because, yeah, I think Arch has, from what I've read, probably one of the best relationships with Texas, and he seems to really like Texas, and all the and it's just definitely one to watch, and they're not just BSing to get clicks. So that's exciting. I just want to talk about really quick before we hop off here. I forgot to mention the implications. Like, what would Ewers coming to Texas mean as far as other recruits? And I think another reason that I really want Ewers is obviously he'll get here next year, like no waiting. And also just all the in-state, it's a really talented group in-state in Texas next year or this year. And I think Ewers would really help, like guys like Denver Harris, Evan Stewart, Devin Campbell, Kelvin Banks, a bunch of people, all these people that were really, in the mix for or possibly leading for. I think if you get Ewers in the boat, then it goes crazy. And that's kind of the difference between Texas and some of these other programs. Like, yeah, we always get top 10 classes, but if we got Ewers, we'd have like a top 3, top 2 class. And there's a big gap, honestly. Like, you can get a top 10 class, that's great, but there's always a gap at the top between like Georgia, Bama, Ohio State, sometimes Clemson. Those schools, they recruit at a different level because, they play the game, and they definitely, it's like a different level. And you see that on the field and in NFL production. If you get a bunch of 5-stars, you're going to have more NFL players and go to more playoffs. So if you get Ewers, obviously you're going to get the number 1 player in the nation, but you're going to bring in guys like Denver Harris with them. Bryce Anderson comes to mind. I'm not sure who Ewers is super close with, but just Ewers, in state, he's got a great reputation, and he would definitely, even if he doesn't know the players, he'll definitely help. People want to play with Quinn Ewers. And then as far as the implications it would have on, let's say if Ewers did flip in a perfect world, it's back to Texas. Malik Murphy, I don't know if he would stay in the boat. He'd probably decommit, honestly.
Yeah.
And that would hurt because we would lose some of the Cali people that we're after, like CJ Williams, that linebacker. I forget his name. I probably would butcher his name anyways. And then, the O lineman, Ernest Green, but I don't think we're really in it for Ernest Green or Malik Agbo. But guys like that, it would hurt. But ultimately, we'd come out profitable for sure because all the guys in state would jump in the boat in my opinion, like in really, really fast, really quickly to join Ewers at Texas. So, and I think, if you get like Sark in here and he gets like a top 2 class in his first year, I think that would really be a great way to, set the tone for his era at Texas. Because if his foundation class is a, top 2 class, if you have top 2 talent in college football, it's going to be really hard not to win big. You have to really mess it up. Like Kirby Smart, I don't think he's a great coach, but they win a lot because they have ridiculous talent every year. We've been close, but not really top 2, top 3 level. So I think Quinn could help pull that to Texas. But I'm sure Arch could too. I'm not familiar with the 2023 class as much because it's still early. But I know a guy like Jonte Cook, who's I think a 5-star in Texas wide receiver, is also really close with Arch Manning, and they've been talking about playing together. So I'm sure Arch would have his fair share of, pull as well. But I don't know. I want it to happen now, and I want Quinn Ewers, the Texas prodigy. I want him in burnt orange. It just seems right. Him at Ohio State, it just makes me nauseous to think about. So let's get Quinn back to Texas.
Yeah. I mean, it makes all the sense in the world to just, do what Sark and the staff are doing right now, and just let's recruit both of them and hope we get one of them. Go until you fail, pretty much. And they're gonna continue to push Ewers all the way up until the end, as they rightfully should. You should always do that with a player of that magnitude that can just change your program. And then, of course, they're going to continue recruiting Manning, unless they get Ewers and pull off the miracle, the great train robbery, or whatever they're going to name it in the future if it actually happens. At that point, Manning would probably start looking around and probably end up at Bama and win 3 titles, and continue doing that. Super talented players that really bring a lot. Any other final points that we should discuss before we wrap this video up?
Not really. Just keep an eye out for more content. We have some good things planned that hopefully we'll start putting it out more regularly, more consistently. But at the day we're filming this, it's 100 days till college football. So it's getting closer, and we'll start heating up the content as well. So keep your eyes open and subscribe.
Definitely. And comment below kind of what side you're on, whether that's Ewers or Manning, or obviously both would be nice. But just feel free to join in on the discussion. It's a fun discussion to have, to debate between two program changers, and knowing that even if it's not a giant possibility, there's maybe a little possibility that we could get one of them. So anyways, Myers, you want to wrap it up for us?
Yeah. And before y'all go commenting in the comments some long paragraph about how we're delusional, we're not getting either.
Yeah.
We know it's unlikely. We're just saying, in the best case scenario. So save yourself the anger and the mess in the comments. And and it's also, for me, it's kind of weird, kind of gossiping about like high schoolers, but Quinn Ewers and Arch Manning are like not high schoolers. They're future
or men
prodigies. So I'm down to, if y'all want more Quinn, if any more gossip or things we hear happens, we'll make more content on it, because it's good stuff. But anyways, thanks for watching all the way through. We really appreciate it. Like I said, next week we're gonna have a really good video planned out for y'all, and I think y'all really enjoy it. So be ready for that. And as always, hook 'em.